The road to BlizzCon for World of Warcraft is coming super soon. The Warcraft movie is being released in June? And Legion is also on its way soon after that. I guess not too soon after that. And then also we have regional tournaments for World of Warcraft and the road to BlizzCon and all of that stuff to look forward to. And all we're doing right now is just sitting here in anticipation for all that. Now, before I go and talk about the road to BlizzCon and like the ruling and the Warcraft movie and all this hype and all this awesome promotion for the game, I just wanted to briefly, I guess not very briefly, just talk to you guys and give you guys a little bit of insight on what's going on with GCDTV. As you guys know, we haven't been streaming or nearly as active as we normally would have been. And there's one huge reason for that. Many of you already know that when we moved to Georgia from Connecticut, the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be closer to my family. But for whatever reason, when we first signed up for moving here, we called a couple different carriers of very good internet, and we made sure with them that we could get some internet when we moved here. Now, when we got here and when we signed the lease and all that good stuff on a house, we found out that good internet providers were not available on that address when before we even went there, we were told that they were. Now, whose fault that is? Obviously, there's a lot of incompetence when it comes to the customer service of just about every ISP in America. But I hate to generalize, but I've dealt with so many companies in so many different states, and I haven't run into individual representatives can be absolutely super nice and helpful in that scenario, but the overall product is just, I don't know. I'm just very disappointed, and I'll go on to say why I'm disappointed. So, the house in which that we leased here in Georgia when we first got here only had DSL. It was a company called Windstream. If you're not familiar with Windstream, they're basically a Frankenstein of a company that basically uses old lines of other companies to create their own, I guess, service. So they provide services to people who are in range of broadband DSL, also cable if they bought their own cable lines from a different company, or even fiber. I'm sure some of their lines are their own lines, but most of the places that I've dealt with and all those people I've talked to when it comes to Windstream, it's generally the case that they kind of just Frankenstein the shit together. We were in a DSL neighborhood, so streaming in that neighborhood was not a thing. This is something that we should have been more prepared for. This is something that we really should have made sure had the internet capable of supporting us. We came from Connecticut, and there literally isn't a place in Connecticut that you could move to, probably like a very small town in Connecticut that you could move to that wouldn't be capable of giving you internet service that could support a stream. So this problem that we are having now is something that we didn't even know existed in North America for whatever reason. So while we were living in this one house that we leased, we started renting, quote unquote, a room in exchange for Hannah to babysit. So that Hannah was working, I wouldn't say full time, pretty close to full time though. She was working a lot. And this was in exchange for a room that we got to broadcast out of and also have access to the internet. And honestly, it was a really great deal, and it was awesome that I was able to get that opportunity. But obviously our broadcast is desktops, and obviously we also need to work, and we can't stay there all the time. So we needed to work from home. And so what that meant was that the setting up of every single tournament and broadcasting from that location meant that we had to essentially move the entire broadcast from that location to our home every weekend or every other weekend or whenever we wanted to stream. Obviously, for us to be able to support ourselves, we needed to produce a certain amount of content and maintain a certain amount of subscribers. So for us to do that, we were going back and forth quite a bit, and that's daunting in itself. But the worst part about all that was You know, I'm completely fine with, you know, packing up my desktop and my entire rig, and Hannah doing the same for her entire setup and resetting it up every single weekend was completely fine. And even each and every day during the weekend, because like, for example, I had to make additional graphics, say on Sunday and on day one of the tournament on Saturday. So we had to do it each and every day, not just Friday of the weekend, if that makes sense. And we're fine with that if we could produce the content. And unfortunately, the internet at that location that was with Charter, and Charter around here has a 7 megabyte upload cap. So we were paying $200+ a month for 7 megabyte upload, and like, I don't even know what the download is. It was like 100 down or something, which isn't bad. I mean, I get that's what the regular consumer was, but it just sucks when you're trying to figure something like this out, because it's like, and there's monopolies of, you know, different areas or whatever. Like, we couldn't get Comcast in that area, even though Comcast was literally the next street over. So we figured out a way to get out of our lease of our main home that we came here to rent. And the way that we did that is we paid 3 months of rent up front, and my brother so kindly hopped into that house to rent that house to kind of like make up for it. And our landlord let us go with that deal, and we got into a new home. And in this new home, before I literally tested the internet of the neighborhood before we moved to this house, and the internet seemed great. I mean, I did like 15 tests. Everything seemed awesome. I've talked to a representative at Comcast Business for like 3 months before this, and I've had multiple conversations with him, and he basically confirmed with me that the speeds in which that I needed were completely doable, and that he was very confident that we would be able to stream from this from a location that is eligible with Comcast Business, which this location was. We got here, we set everything up, the rent was cheaper, everything was great. We got Comcast Business, the speed seemed good, everything seemed great. We started streaming, and it wasn't good. There'd be random days where our internet would drop to speeds that didn't allow us to stream at 3 megabytes per second, and we have a 20 megabyte upload plan. I couldn't figure it out. I've spent nights and nights and nights testing to try to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. I ran a trace route. I showed as much speed tests of my speeds being very low to multiple representatives, and I just couldn't figure it out. And this is the biggest thing that I wanted to make this video about, because I've talked to a couple people about the reasoning why we haven't made GCD tournaments. And so basically what it is right now we have internet. Our internet seems pretty good. It's good most of the time, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes we get shit on, and sometimes we can't stream. And if you plan an event, like, because we put a lot into GCDTV, you guys know this. I mean, we work hard, and we keep trying to improve it, and we keep trying to like go past, and it's impossible. It's impossible to improve. It's impossible to make changes to your broadcast that make it look better, and constantly push forward to bettering yourself when you know in the back of your head that the broadcast at any time can crap out, or maybe not even work at all. And something you just work so hard for something, and to know that it could all be for naught is depressing. Just, yeah. So I can't even begin to tell you guys what kind of toll this took on me, but also Hannah. And the night before broadcast, we would legitimately stay awake for hours and hours, and I'd get up like every 4 hours, and I'd turn the broadcast on to see if frames were dropping, or to see if everything's good, to give us some peace of mind so maybe we can go to sleep. But like we both knew, like in the back of our heads, that it could be perfect one day and horrible the next for whatever reason. And that's why I haven't made another event. And I'm not going to be making another GCDTV big broadcast, like, you know, like a pro league or a big tournament again, until I know my internet's good. And it kind of sucks. I don't know. I've had a couple people tell me that WoW PvP is going to just completely die because we're not doing our tournaments anymore, or, you know, like I don't know, but we're still going to be doing community events. We're still going to be doing small events that, hundreds of participants aren't relying on our broadcast. So if it does go down, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Like, small fun things with not necessarily like a big prize pool or anything like that. Just like little events to, give back to the community for all the support that they've been consistently giving us until we figure it out. And I know we'll figure it out. It's just a matter of time, and it's kind of bleak right now. I talked to a lot of people, and the whole notion that WoW PvP is going to die without GCDTV, I just kind of disagree with. GCDTV was never created to give players an incentive to play this game, but instead to give players like an outlet to show how good they are, and to give players like a platform to really demonstrate what level of play that they can produce, and to show how exciting and cool WoW PvP really can be. That was like our main focus, right? That and creating a community around it. Like, I felt like there was a little bit of negativity around the PvP community specifically, and I don't necessarily think that we changed. I think we changed something, but I don't think we've changed everything. I think that the community in itself kind of changed for the better over a little bit of time. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited about WoW esports in general in the future. I mean, I talked to you guys a little bit about in the very beginning of this. There's the Road to BlizzCon coming up. There's the Warcraft movie coming up, and they have incentives like free game time, or not free game time, but like also like the first expansions free, and the Legion expansion coming right after that. I mean, you probably have heard voice concerns nonstop, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you were to look at everything combined objectively, I would say that there's a lot of, pros, there's a lot of cons, but I overall am excited about 2016 for World of Warcraft esports. There's a lot of, if you Google WoW esports, there's a lot of articles out there where there's a lot of people who just straight up think that World of Warcraft can never ever be an esport. And I don't necessarily 100% disagree with them. No, that's not true. I disagree with them. There are certain obstacles in which we as a community in Blizzard has to overcome to allow the spectating aspect of World of Warcraft to be very, very exciting. But to say that those obstacles cannot be overcame, I think in itself is something that is just not true. And I mean, like, that's all speculation, I suppose. Like, you can't really necessarily know for sure either way. But I absolutely sure as hell am going to try. And, big shout out once again. I say this every single stream, but Vadrak. If you guys don't know who Vadrak is, he is the creator of Arena Live. And so just before I go into Vadrak and what he's done for us as a community, I just want to briefly talk about those articles. Those articles talk in detail of why they think World of Warcraft as an esport will never grow. And, the three main arguments I see is, one, the spectating is very, very confusing, which I wholeheartedly agree with. It's probably the biggest downfall of 3v3 Arena is the level of complexity and the fast-pacedness and the amount of things that you need to keep track of. But it also is a strength. It's also very exciting when you know everything that's going on. And there's a lot of things that make it very interesting. And it's trying to... I'll go into that a little bit later. And a thing that I see in these articles is, talking about compositions and stuff like that. And so, compositions, ever since the 4-player rosters and stuff like that, and the format, I think compositions obviously have had more emphasis, but there's been more diversity of compositions as well. I mean, that's just a fact. Whether or not it's good or bad for the game is all, your own opinion. My opinion is I think it's necessary. I think composition advantages and disadvantages are always going to be a thing. This game, it's always has been a thing, and certain compositions have been more universally powerful than other universal compositions. So, playing multiple compositions or playing multiple classes even, I think, is necessary if you're going to want to bring the game to a higher competitive level, especially as incentive increases. Once incentive increases and players have more reason to get better and better at this game, even in a slower expansion like Warlords or Draenor, where things seem to be more played out and composition advantages seem to be even more profound, I think that even if it wasn't like that, I still think at the highest level, composition advantages will be profound no matter what. And so being versatile, I think, is really key to being able to diverse yourself as a better player. That's personally what I think, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really seen an alternative to that in any tournament. So, I mean, I'm always open to ideas. I mean, my end goal, guys, has always been from day one is creating a competitive atmosphere that's fair and exciting and has the potential to grow. So, I mean, I'm not too proud. If you have another idea or if you have a different, perspective on how you want this thing to go, please feel free to share it with us on Twitter at GCDTV _ and we look at everything objectively. That's something that we try to pride ourselves on. So, talking a little bit more about the spectating, because I really think that the spectating, I really think that if the game is exciting to spectate, everything else will kind of fall into place. I mean, the gameplay in itself, will have its pros and cons. We talk about Legion, we talk about pruning and stuff like that. I still think that if there is, I'm not scared about Legion being not fun. I'm not, because they've put more focus on making sure it is fun. They've recognized the lack of fun in Warlords of Draenor. So that's not something that I'm going to bother myself with being too worried about right now, especially considering it's not something I have a whole lot of, ability to control besides giving my own feedback. And that's all we really can do. All we can do is provide feedback and do everything else. And everything else is something that we can actually work towards. So I'm going to focus on spectating. So spectating right now, as you guys know, Vadrak, or as you may not know, Vadrak, he is the creator of Arena Live, which is the add-on that we use to display everything during our tournaments. The health bars, the cooldowns, the timers, the names, everything, even the unit, even the nameplates. It's amazing, and it gives you everything that you really need to see see the game for the depth and the complexity that it really is. Like I said, there's complexity, and for a new person to watch that game, or even someone who's played the game for 10 years but never really competed at a super high level of 3v3 arena or even any arena, it's still rather difficult to keep track of. And it's very difficult to cast. Kudos to every single World of Warcraft caster: Supatiz, Venruki, Vhel, Lore, and there's a whole bunch more. Kudos to those guys, because it's a hell of a game to cast. And I think that there's definitely strides that we can make to make the game better. When I say make the game better, I mean make the game easier to spectate is what I'm talking about right now. So first and foremost, cooldowns have been a huge part in Warlords of Draenor of the game, and it's always kind of going to be important in the game, right? So I think it's important to categorize cooldowns to be able to show. So for example, an offensive cooldown of a Retribution Paladin is Avenging Wrath, his wings. The offensive cooldown of a Warlock is, I think it's Dark Soul or Demon Soul. Now, I might not recognize both of those icons, but I do know, playing the game, that I have my own offensive cooldown. Now, if I had every cooldown categorized by offensive, defensive, and miscellaneous, at the very least, I will know that Dark Soul that's sorted in offensive cooldowns is a something for that Warlock to become aggressive and to do more damage. And just like, tools like that, and organization like that, and sorting the interface like that, and trying to simplify things for a demographic that's not super into this game, could very well be the mindset that we need moving forward as organizers and as add-on creators to really take this game to the next level. And I really think that when it comes to the outplay potential of the game, and when it comes to the exciting plays of the game, and when it comes to the depth of the game, World of Warcraft has a potential to become a big esport. I truly believe that. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, as you can imagine. Looking at World of Warcraft objectively definitely is going to be a challenge for me, I'm sure. But at the same time, it's also my future. So if I don't look at World of Warcraft objectively, and I want to continue to create esport events for my job, I have to look at it objectively. So you can use that as a little bit more merit of my word on terms of what World of Warcraft has the potential to become. So that's really my entire rant. There's so much coming forward. There's so much more attention to the game, and there's some really, really exciting events. And I think that all of these events kind of overshadow, the qualms that we have for everything else. And I think it's really important to note that the Blizzard's listening. Whether or not Legion is going to be exciting, whether or not Legion is going to have the same outplay potential and all that stuff, is still all to be determined. But at the end of the day, we are in beta still, and we still have plenty of opportunity to give our feedback, and we all have our part to make this game as good and as competitive as it can be. So I'm gonna end this video by saying, if you have access to the beta, get on the beta, play your class, play multiple classes, and really think about it and give constructive feedback to what it is that you think could be better about your class. What can make your class more fun, but better yet, what can make your class, competitive. So thank you guys so much for listening to my rant, and I'll see you on Twitch.